Hi, I'm Tony Kent, and this is the third episode of my occasional series, Tony Kent Writes and Recommends. Those who've watched the previous episodes will know that my main goal behind this is to introduce people who are watching this generally, who read my books and enjoy what I write, to introduce them to the books of others. And really I'm concentrating mainly on contemporary authors, authors that I read myself now, an ongoing series. However, I'm going to cheat today. The reason I'm going to cheat today is because about a month ago, I was asked by the Mayfair Times to write for them an article on my desert island books. They asked me to choose 5 books and to write short blurbs on why it is that they are my favourite books, or the books that I would take to a desert island. If you get the Mayfair Times, it will be in this month's edition. You can look it up online. So I figured, well, I've done the work, haven't I, already? So why don't I talk about, if I'm recommending things, my 5 desert island books, 4 of which are here. Well, one of them is not technically just a book, but we'll come to that. So let's talk about them. First of all, David Baldacci, the winner. Anybody who's been watching my main show, Tony Kent Chats, Tony Kent Writes and Chats, in fact, will the episode in which I discuss my inspiration, and they will therefore know that the winner and David Baldacci were my inspiration. Still on merit as well. It is still at least joint the best thriller I've ever read. Just because it was the first one doesn't mean anyone improved upon it. So in terms of a thriller, it is as pacey, as gripping, as just well conceived and well constructed as you could possibly want. It's one of those plots that you just think, where the hell did he get that idea from? And how the hell did he pull it off? Honestly, I won't tell you any more about it. The characters are incredible. I won't tell you any more about the plot. I'm not going to try and sell it anymore. I'm trying to be reasonably brief on each of them. Just, if you've not read it, read it. It's just wonderful. Next, we'll go slightly highbrow with Joseph Heller, Catch-22. Now, I've spoken before about the classics. I've always said, well, I can appreciate them. I can understand why they're classics. I completely understand why it is that people rave about them. I, for one, don't generally enjoy them. I get it, don't really enjoy them. And I like to read for enjoyment. Well, Catch-22 is the exception to that rule. Catch-22 is one of the classics, slightly more modern as a classic, but one of the classics, and it is exceptional. It is enjoyable, it will make you laugh out loud, and it will make you cry your eyes out in quick succession. They talk about the madness of war. Well, if anything has ever described the madness of war, I don't know, I've not been in a war. But in terms of just madness of a situation, nothing could convey it better than Catch-22. The surrealism and the realism, which just run side by side, is it's an almost impossible book to explain, which makes this really a very difficult task. All I'll say is just read it. We're in a lockdown now, and I always say to people, if you have an opportunity to immerse yourself, absolutely immerse yourself in a book, do it in this one. Well, we all have that opportunity, so really, do read it, please. Next, The Odyssey by Homer. Okay, it's not a book, it's a poem, but it's also the very first thriller book, the very first adventure book. Not a thriller, an adventure book. And that's really where this genre comes from, isn't it? This genre is all about thrilling. And whilst we now look at thrillers as being something a little bit darker, really, it's just, I keep using the word in all these broadcasts, it's the roller coaster, it's the adventure. And this was the very first adventure book. The very, very first, obviously it came after the Iliad, which is much darker. Sort of seemingly written, possibly was written by a different person. I guess we don't know who Homer really was. Very, very different, very, very different. The Iliad is dark and psychological and all the things that the Iliad is. The Odyssey is an adventure story. It's Indiana Jones trying to find his way home a long, long time ago. And I just recommend anybody, they should read it. I first read the Odyssey, a version of the Odyssey, when I was about 8. It was written by Richard Curtis and Tony Robinson. Tony Robinson's daughter now is a very, very good historical author that I'll be talking about in due course. But I read the Tony Robinson version, the Tony Robinson Richard Curtis version. It was absolutely fantastic, and I thought that can't ever be improved. And then I was a teenager and I read the real thing, and yes, it can. and that I don't think will be taken as an insult. The fourth book in my pile is Flashman. I've got Flashman at the Charge, which is my personal favourite Flashman. But the Flashman series, if I could take a series with me, it would have to be Flashman. Completely politically incorrect, entirely inappropriate in almost every way, but just a work of pure genius, certainly the first 6 of them. I mean, to take a character from a classic, Tom Brown's School Days, to take Flashman from that, and then wonder what happened to him, and then sort of interweave him into all of the great events of the Victorian Empire, and also beyond, was fairly amazing as an idea. But to then pull it off to the extent that George MacDonald Fraser did, I mean, he wrote absolutely incredible books on such a conceit. I mean, you look at that and you think, one day I might be able to come up with something that works that well. It's just incredible. I recommend it. Just start at the beginning, read them chronologically, what word I was trying to pronounce there, read them chronologically, and I guarantee you there is very little you can enjoy more. And the 5th book, which I don't have a copy of, and really it's because I've lent them all out, is any single book in the Rumpole series. As a criminal barrister, well, I can tell you, there is nothing that's ever been closer to the truth than Rumpole. It is just fantastic. It's like reading all of the stories that you hear people tell while drunk and exaggerating in all the bars around Middle Temple and Inner Temple. And it really is something else. It was not originally written as books, originally written as screenplays, but the books are as good as anything that's initially written to be a book. Absolutely fantastic, and I can't recommend them enough. So, those are my 5 desert island books with 2 cheats, because Flashman and Rumpole are both series, but really get all of them. Can't recommend them any more than I have, and we'll return in the next episode to individuals and to series that are around now. Thank you.